Wallen,
Here?
Smith,
Here.
Burgess.
Here.
Approve the minutes.
Okay. And, can I get a motion to approve the wastewater May 17, 2022 meeting, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Under, the older business, just go back over the committee can you discuss on the storm sewers at Sloan's. Mayor Page met with the Sloan's and offered a tip money, and then Jack approached Sloan to see if there's a plan and possible timeline. We have any update on that?
So, we did talk to, Jim Stagg, Tom Sloan, and Butch Harper, Mark was there. We did, some preliminary stuff. We had Wes Horton, come out and do some cameraing and dye tracing, and, there's, 4 bathrooms over there. We tracked down 2 of them. The other 2 we couldn't get any locations on. We have a pretty good idea of the directions they're going, but there's still more work that needs to be done over there. And when we met with them, they had a pretty good idea of what they thought was happening. They thought all their sewer was separated already. Their storm was in the back. That's not the case. So we haven't made much progress on there. I think we're a little bit more confident that they do have combined sewer and sanitary service going out to our new sanitary sewer. That we did prove that, but as far as a workaround or a good plan, I don't have one. And I don't know what the steps are from here. I think it's a bigger project than anybody wants to sink their teeth into. So, but we've been talking to them about it pretty regularly. Once a week probably. So, I don't have any fix or agreement or anything with Sloan's yet.
Yeah, I guess the conversation started out, Butch said 1952.
Yeah, that's where he started.
So that
And
just
we were
tells
like,
you,
oh god.
he had some ideas of how the sewers left the existing buildings. And I think the intent, like so Jack had mentioned, we were gonna have a camera, and sounds like that was done and dye tested.
We did, and we have a pretty. We know that all of their bathrooms tie together into one long service line. It runs underneath the building. We still have not found the outlet to it because it runs east down the building and it turns back to the west. And once it turns back to the west, we couldn't follow it anymore. So it's a mess in there. Their sanitary has been just hodgepodge together over years and years, tied into a storm sewer. Part of it was owned by the city, we think, and then we can't find any documents that say the city does own it, so it's all on their property. It is a mess.
So, remind me again, Jack, what kicked off the getting with Sloan's just with our new?
So we got, the whole reason we have a new sanitary sewer system is because we're overflowing into the creek, because we had combined sewer systems, so storm and sanitary mixed together. Once we separated from phase 1, we noticed that our sanitary sewer, the new sanitary sewer, which should have practically no storm on it, it's overflowing and surcharging every time we get big rain events. So then that led us to putting up flow meters. We already had a pretty good idea where the largest service was and where the water was coming from, but we wanted to prove it, so we put flow meters at Sloan service and then a flow meter up at the lift station. And for example, we had one day it was like 3 inches of rain. We had roughly 3 million gallons of water come through the new lift station, and we had about 2.7 million gallons come out of Sloan service. So we know that 90+% of the surcharging that's happening in the new sewer system is from Sloan's lot.
Okay. So I guess what?
You can go ahead and leave it in there and just
Leave it.
keep
Okay.
working at it,
How do we keep working at it, Bill?
Well, we're just gonna have to keep having
Well, I can tell you-
discussions on it.
I just got the bill from Hortons, and it was $1,160.
Okay.
And that's cameraing, two plumbers at prevailing wage. They were there for 4 hours.
Was that done out at Sloan's?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were there from about 8 to 12:30.
Is that something that Sloan's would be willing to split the bill with the city?
We can
talk, yeah, we can talk to
it.
them.
You know, we did tell them that we were going to, you know, call a plumber and bring them in here and see what we wanted to do, but, you know, this, and they could split this or whatever, but this is gonna be, you know,
That's gonna be
drop in the
small.
bucket
Yeah,
compared to
so-
what.
Well,
what
yeah,
the
because
number
I know we had this conversation, I did with Jack, I mean, it could cost very well into the six figures
Yeah.
for this
And-
situation.
And that's
And
the
then,
thing,
and
we
it's
don't
kind of
know.
like one of those things, then it gets into who pays? Because do we make them? We're making them do this. And then it's kind of like, it is their property, so
And this-
it's going to
Well,
be
the,
a weird.
the city does have all the teeth they want
Mhm.
to force their hand, but I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Exactly,
So
do you
that's
wanna go to
what-
battle with Sloan's?
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Well, I
mean,
think the best way is if everybody could work together.
yeah, no, exactly, that's why.
You know, they've never been hard to get along with in the past, and I'm sure that they will do their part.
They've been good to work with.
Yeah,
We-
awesome
we,
with me when I've been out there to talk
Yeah, I
to
think
them.
they wanna know how their, you know, how their facilities are put together just
Mhm.
as bad as we do, and they just don't. So, yeah, you know, I can, you know, go talk with them again, see if they wanna split this bill, if we wanna bring another plumber in, try to do some more locating, you know, I don't, short of
Yeah,
pulling
they
up
really-
floors, I'm
they
not really
need
sure.
to figure out where their plumbing is. Now I know
Right.
you don't want to go to battle or whatnot,
Mhm.
but everywhere else in town, you know, your house has a roof drain tied onto it. And whose responsibility is that? So that's something that the city's going to have to navigate through. If you know you force this person, sorry, big one,
Mhm.
you know, you got a roof drain to take off. This is exactly the same situation.
Because that is going to happen. We are going to
Mhm.
go through phase 2 and start, you know, testing all of the sewers, and we're gonna see homes all throughout town who have, it's a smaller scale, but this is gonna happen again, and they're gonna, you know, we're gonna say, you need to figure this out, call a plumber and get it fixed.
And it already was done, you know, 10 years or so
Yeah.
ago, maybe less than that. But
It was right after I moved
Yeah,
here
yes.
because.
yeah.
So
of
there's-
my house.
You mentioned offering them TIF money. I mean, I think that's a good,
Yeah, it was something that I had talked to them about, you know, kind of as a good effort, maybe something over the course of, you know, 10 years. Because I told them, I said, we can't give you all this money up front. So I told them it would probably be over the course of 10 years. And, I mean, they were fine. We did not talk about a price or anything.
It's, we don't
like
know.
that.
I
We-
mean,
yeah,
we have no
exactly.
idea
So
what
all I
it's
did
gonna
tell
be.
him was, there's that option for TIF, and he was more than grateful. I talked to Jeff out there. He was. So.
good.
We'll put that on the agenda for council on approving that $11100. But if you could get an answer, just let us know. We got finance Wednesday. So
Mhm.
it's either way. Just let me or Janet know somebody. Okay. Under new business, city council to wait on the EPA for the next steps on the new water plant.
I think that's still,
I've called, tried calling, she has not returned my calls, I don't know if she's just on, I tried calling her today, so, my kind of, you know, opinion is that, you know, we're one little PES, we think it's a large dollar amount, but this is a US EPA, so when they're ready, they're gonna have their program ready, and that's when we're gonna be able to, you know, go forward with it, so, yes, the money is, you know, been approved for the city of Assumption, but somebody has to manage it, and that's, you know, from the US EPA, so.
Did they hire somebody? Because that was on our
That was,
conversation.
that
They
was,
did not have
that was the
somebody
last
fill.
conversation, I had not,
Mhm.
I tried calling her today, she didn't return the call, so I don't know, so I'd say that's where it's at, it's gonna sit for a while probably, just waiting.
Sanitary sewer phase 1, disbursement for Petersburg Plumbing is $218,725.77. Engineering of $5,631.05 for a total of $224,356.82. Mark discussed putting a culvert in on West Samuel, and Petersburg will install it.
that's what
That's finished, right?
Yeah, there was one that was replaced that there was existing, so we put it back in its existing condition. I know Susie has mentioned that, the neighbor has, would like culvert too. That was not how it was, originally. I guess I haven't looked myself. Jack, does that ring a bell?
Yeah, there was a small, culvert, where it turns the corner there, but there was no buried culvert from Louisiana to her driveway.
Yeah.
It was just an open ditch.
And I will say that Angel has sent me that she's received this check, and so this is the final, I believe. But so I'm not gonna have her release that until we get the punch list completed. So just so everybody's aware, Petersburg's is gonna be asking, why they haven't got that check. But I will tell them. But I just make sure you guys are aware. There's some punch list items that they're working on. So
Okay. There was a change order deduct for $126,628.62 for items that did not need to be completed during sanitary phase 1 project.
that was submitted and of course taken off the total of the project, so they're not eligible for those items. So that can be deleted.
Okay.
I think probably the one before that can be deleted too. Actually,
Okay.
if you want. I'm not gonna.
The committee discussed the sanitary sewer phase 2 project. Mark asked the committee if they would like to contract the work on moving the dirt, the slag pile, to continue like phase 1. Water superintendent would like to see it added to the project. Are we
So the next
still
one,
in agreement
We'll
there?
go to the next one.
yeah, the next one's also the same
Okay.
thing, kind of.
The advertised and a bid opening and scheduled June 1st, 2
Yes.
p.m.
And so we did extend the bid, we had some questions, but so I did receive, we did receive bids. And, so Petersburg was the only one that bid. I mean, it is a big project, and, we, just like before, we had some contact from others, but, they're either out of state or whatnot, and, Petersburg was the local one. I think they did a good job on the last project, but, so the total was, $6,891,329, $6,891,329. That did include, contingency. I put $400,000 for, I won't say slag pile maintenance, but maintenance of the spoils that come out from the excavation. That's what the last, item there is, moving the dirt and piling it, and, that's what I put. That's a
Personally, I think that's a very steep number.
It is a contingency, so when we start construction, we can discuss that with Petersburg at a pre-construction meeting. Either the city's gonna manage it or Petersburg is, cause it's a contingency, as in they're gonna have to turn in time and material sheets. And so whenever we first meet with at the pre-construction, if they tell us that this is what they think it's going to come up, maybe it'll only be $200,000. They're gonna put some limitations on it, assuming they're gonna have 2 or 3 crews here. If they have one crew spread out over a longer period, then of course they're gonna have somebody there on that pile longer. So that was the hard part, trying to depict where I couldn't tell them, yes, we got one location. I also wanted to put some of it at the water treatment plant. It just depends on where we're putting the dirt, how much they're gonna have to actually incur, so it may not go just to that one location. If that makes sense. That's how I'd like to leave
But basically,
it for now.
the number's so high is just because they don't
No,
fuel
no, yeah,
and how when we did it on the last project, we certainly didn't need somebody up there 8 hours a day. Now, if they're pulling somebody out of the hall and they want to operate up there 8 hours a day, and it goes 2.5 years, and it probably will be $400,000. But
So, why would we spend that kind of money when we could have, was it Donnie that did it for $15 an hour?
I think that's something that we would, so we included in the bid right now, and then I'd like to get it moving forward with it. Just like the last project, there were things as we were starting construction and going through construction, the city made the decision that, hey, we wanna do it this way rather than, having somebody, work on the pile. So I would say, right now, we just leave it in there, and then cause first I gotta get all this submitted to the state, and so that's what I'm gonna go over here in a minute. And then once we have that, determined, once we get the loan agreement back, we can then further discuss that, hey, we wanna have, city staff or, city, handle the.
it's also not just $15 an hour. It's
It's
$15
those
an hour
rental,
plus those rental plus fuel.
Yeah.
So you're talking probably closer to $5,000 or $6,000 a month.
If, say for instance, you had my son sitting up there to move dirt,
Mhm.
that's a lot of money per hour sitting there.
And there were,
And it's a whole lot more than $15 an hour.
there were some issues as far as extending the life of this or the length of this project because of rain, road maintenance.
Mhm.
You know, Petersburg was pretty adamant that, you know, they don't, if someone's gonna, if they're gonna take control of this, there's not gonna be any, they're not gonna say, oh, well, the city of Assumption couldn't keep the dump site clean, couldn't keep the road clean,
Yeah.
we had to shut the project down,
They're-
which they said multiple
Yeah.
times last year.
They're gonna tell us, and we're gonna approve it, that, hey, 'cause I do have it, you know, where they could haul rock to, you know, to make sure they get access, or to the water treatment plant site where we also wanna dump some of it. So they're gonna, you know, ask us, and we're gonna be able to agree or disagree, you know, hey, we don't want you to do that, and then they're going to say, well, if you're not gonna do it, then you're gonna slow down our project, and, you know, then you're gonna charge something for that. And I'm not saying that's gonna happen, I'm just saying, you know, like Jack was saying, if you have a rain delay or something like that. I don't think we need to decide all this right now, you know, I just wanna make sure you're aware that, you know, that's how it was included, and then we'll go from there. We're not starting construction tomorrow, we need to get a loan, this passed through the board, submit it to the state, and then we'll get a loan agreement, and then we're really gonna, you know, have a pre-construction meeting, and talk about it with Petersburg, and, you know, we just like we did on the first phase. Yeah. Anybody's more than welcome to come to that pre-construction meeting. I don't remember who all attended last time, but,
And you know, I'm not opposed to doing it the way we did it for phase one. You know, it is more work for the city, it's more, you know, upkeep and maintenance, and a little more of a burden on us, but you know, I just wanted to, I wanted to get it in the project, because before we excluded it from the project right from the get-go.
yes, yeah.
Mhm.
I'd like to see, you know, what it's gonna even out to once we do pre-construction meetings and stuff. So it's not saying, you know, right now if we don't cut it out, we're never gonna cut it out. So
Right. Okay, so that was the bid opening, and in the borrowing ordinance, we had, so if you remember that, I just said $6.891,329. In the borrowing ordinance, we had $505,135. That's what we had in our borrowing ordinance. That's what the city, you know, said prior to bid opening. This is what we were going to borrow. Now, this was put together roughly a year and a half ago, and prices have gone up. So as you can tell, that you can't cover the cost of the project with your current borrowing ordinance, because, you know, just because of where the costs have come in at. So at the next next council, I'll have a amendment to the borrowing ordinance, and I'm just saying $8 million. That doesn't, you know, we don't have to use all of that, but so it's 6.8 for the construction, and then the engineering to be included in it, which was 600.
Some odd thousand, that's what I was
Yeah.
told, yeah.
I had it listed out somewhere on here. So, yeah, 665,000, that's what we had for engineering. So construction was $7,098,068.87. So on Petersburg's bid, you add 3%, so you already have $400,000, then you have to add another contingency. You don't have to use it, these are contingency dollars in case you wanna use it. So that's why we came up with the $8 million. You know, we're talking about big numbers, but we're not spending it all right now, tomorrow, in 3 months. You know, we're gonna work through the process just like we did on phase one. You know, initially I was, you know, coming to the board meetings 2-3 months ago, and I was worried that it was gonna be $10 million.
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
And I'm actually okay with where it came in, because I think we can work with it. So I've gone through the EPA calls it a 5-year projection that says we have to prepare that says if you can afford it. You know, based off of what we talked about, we did a 30% increase back 2017-ish. You did a 1% sales tax 2016 some time ago. You know, all those are factored in, and then you have what your debt service that you have to pay for current phase one, and I have that calculated as 150,000 basically. That's your debt service after principal forgiveness is taken off of the current phase one project. And then I have the debt service of the second phase of $189,502. And so I can actually show by in your 5-year projection, you're still always increasing. You know, you have your account is not going to go in the negative at some point in its life. Now I do show, I'll make sure everybody's aware that in the first couple years, at 5 years down the road, it would be negative. Just how it works out, but you have surplus in your because of the 1% sales tax, that you'll be able to cover. I'm talking about a lot of things here. Basically, what I'm saying in the 5-year projection, I believe we can show the EPA that you can afford this project. And I have the 5-year projection, just so I can print off one copy, I guess. But we have to show that to the EPA, so that way they know that you can afford the project, based off of, the
Current
condition-
revenue.
current situation. And that is assuming the full 8 million, which I don't think you're gonna have to, borrow. Just like in phase 1, we talked about it, we had this number up here, and we're under that number. So these are big numbers, but I'm just, making sure we're going over them. So that's it. I mean, unless anybody has any questions for the sewer project. If not, then I would like to get approval to have a notice of intent to award on the board meeting and the borrowing ordinance amendment for the council meeting. So the notice of intent to award is not awarding the contract yet to Petersburg. It's saying that you plan to award it. We went through this a number of times before, but I know everybody's kind of new. So you notice of intent to award, you submit everything to the state, so then you wait for a loan agreement, which could be 60 days, 60 to 2 months to 3 months. You get loan agreement, it comes back to the board. Then all the terms that I've kind of just gone over, all listed in the loan agreement. It's executed at that following board meeting, or we call a special one, whatever's needed. And then the project's kicked off. So this is like 3 months down the road from now. I don't expect the EPA is going to turn this around in 2 months. So 3 months, we get a loan agreement. Once that happens, then we get a pre-construction meeting, and then we talk about with Petersburg, what is the schedule for phase 2. So I'd like to be able to take these to the council.
Sure. Yep.
Everybody's good with it. Okay, that's it for sewer.
Did you give Greg a copy of that so he can draft up in an ordinance? I think you did. I think I got it.
The amendments to the ordinance I haven't
Okay.
given them notice of intent to award. and
Okay.
I can just send that to Janet and Greg, and that way.
That sounds perfect, because I think I saw the ordinance come back from.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
send that, and so Stephanie Flowers, so I went ahead and sent all this stuff to make sure that, so Stephanie Flowers is the legal counsel for the Illinois EPA. She's agreed to the ordinance, said it looks fine. Greg, I think, has looked at it. So if everybody else is fine with it, it'll be on council for approval. Sounds good. I think that's it for sewer phase 2. Gone over a lot.
Yeah. The Flower Shell project, that's finished, right?
Well, we just sent in the final construction permit for the main. Opened up bore, Wall Street, seen all those taped off holes.
Yeah.
So getting those holes, I know it's kind of, people don't understand why we have all these open holes, but getting those holes opened up and getting the boring crew in and out in one day is a substantial savings for us and for Burdick. So we opened up all those holes. They should do all those road crossings. We're gonna bore all the road crossings. They should be able to do that in a day or two.
You
And
know
then
when that's gonna happen, Jack?
yeah, that's tomorrow. So the
Oh, that's
boring crew
tomorrow.
comes in tomorrow. From what we found so far, it looks like we, don't hold me to it yet, but everything we found so far, it looks like we're not going to be using any lead service funds for this project, and we won't be going into people's houses. It'll just be replacing replacing the service from the main to the meter pit. So I would anticipate we'd be done with these services in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Have the project wrapped up, bring them back in to grade everything out. And
I do have a pay request for La Rochelle, so Burdick just got it together, so that'll have to be on the agenda. So $59,344.97. That's for their current work that they've been doing this last month. And, that on the agenda.
Okay, that's what you just talked about, right? The next one, the verdict request, the payment.
I'm not sure if
That was 149,000.
That was, I guess, sorry,
Yeah,
I guess
last
that
time.
would've been the last one, so this one is, $59,344.97, so.
So that's plus the 149 or the 149?
That was from, that 149 was the last one last month, so every month we do a new pay request, so they paid 149,000, then they'll be paid 59,000, the total that the remaining balance to finish is $147,660.58.
Okay.
So every month we do a pay request, and so they can get paid for some of the work that they've
Sure,
done.
sure. approximate cost to fix a leak found by Matter Leak Detection at Second College was around $6,000.
We haven't fixed that yet, but, Moequa is going to come down with their hydrovac and give us a hand. And we're gonna go do a tap for them, so.
Okay. Jack discussed buying additional acre for the new water plant. The committee agreed to place on the agenda for council.
Yeah, we got that taken care of.
That's all done.
Okay.
Water tower inspections, are those?
I talked to the other day when they were
Oh,
up
did
there
you?
doing it. Yeah, they really had a southern accent.
Yeah, they're from
They're good people.
all over. Those guys are from Kentucky, but they
Mhm.
have people
Interesting.
all over the country.
Yeah.
They climbed them both in a day. We're waiting on reports now.
Yeah, he said it'd be a few weeks.
Probably another week before we get a report.
Okay.
And then moving on to the next one with the wells. Well 11 has been cleaned. There was there's a 90-foot column pipe that runs up. You know, it's basically the discharge pipe out of the well pump, and it's submerged underwater all the time, or most of it is. And I've got videos of it if anybody wants to see it. It was all pitted and rusty and stuff, so we replaced that column pipe. So there was an additional like $2,300 for the well 11 cleaning. I've also got some really tedious videos if anybody wants to look at them, but there was a substantial amount of iron on the screen. The pump was all covered in iron, which they recommended, or not necessarily recommended, they kind of pushed us to replace the pump just because of the condition it was in. We decided that, and it was covered in black, and it was actually not the same pump that we had records of being in there. So we weren't sure the age of it, but they took it apart, cleaned it, serviced it, and we put it back in the ground. So I would expect next time we go to clean that well, we'll price it to replace that pump.
And how often do we do that then?
It's more as needed.
As needed, okay.
It's getting more expensive every year. At one point, like Moequa they were doing a well a year, which I think the last record I have of service was 2011, which I know that's not the case because that pump has been replaced since then. So, every couple of years you should have those cleaned out, especially high iron, like in well 10 has got real high iron. We are pushing off the well 10 cleaning as much as we can to get the nitrate vessels. So the nitrate vessels have been delivered to the plant, plumbed. They're all ready to go. We are waiting on a couple, polyphosphate, some meters, but Burdick will be in tomorrow to load all the media in. They should get both the tanks done tomorrow, backwashed and sampled. So once we get those tanks sampled and sent off to the EPA for a partial permit, basically we're gonna ask them if we can get them online as soon as possible. If we can get those nitrate tanks online in the next few weeks, we're gonna schedule that well 10 cleaning after that. That way we don't have any time restrictions. Because that well 10, we blend our nitrates through there. So once we have a nitrate removal tank, we don't have to worry about blending or anything like that. So.
Okay. All right.
If we're talking about nitrate vessels, I do have a pay request for that. So they've installed the vessels. We already did pay them, or already received the funds and paid them for the actual vessels. But so this is just the install, which is $18,468. And then I also do have for nitrate project and Division B, which was the lead service line project. I do need to do a time extension. And so I'm just doing 90 days because that's what I've been doing here recently. So the nitrate was a little bit different situation. We were waiting for them to be delivered, and we weren't sure how the new water treatment plant process was going. So it's not like we were waiting, because we wanted to for those to show up. So I'm saying 90 days. So that puts the completion September 10th, 2022. I expect them to be done before then, but I need approval for that. And then the lead. So as Jack just said, we're not using the lead funds for La Rochelle, but I'd like to try. There's still some funds left for a lead service line that I'd like to use, hopefully somewhere else. Probably tied to sewer phase 2, but we need to use those funds here pretty soon because the EPA is going to start wanting us to get the loan closed out. But need a time extension, so that's 90 days for both of those, Division A and Division B. Division A was the nitrate removal system. Division B was water main on First, which, you know, everybody, that one's been done for a long time, and then lead service is not finished, but that's because we're not letting them finish it.
If we close that project out, you know,
Yeah.
close all the existing money out.
Then
the funds.
we don't have those funds available for them.
Okay.
So, that'll be on the agenda, as well, and then I'll have that pay request for Division A, for nitrate removal. There are lots on the agenda.
Big water agenda.
And the last one, Jack discussed the need to have a service bed on the truck. Where are we at on that?
So, Beaudry came down to 3,000 for the service bed, and Foremost said they'd install it for $1,200. And he said at most $1,200. So,
And you want us to send that to finance and, okay, so 3,000 and then, so 4,200?
yep.
Yeah. We'll send her to finance and get her done. And then on to council.
I've got two other things, so I didn't pass out a map here, but I haven't talked to Jack about this completely, so, he has, he's updated. So, we have this water treatment plant project, and I would say we're waiting on the US EPA. And initially, we had an EPA loan plan for the water treatment plant and water mains and more lead service lines throughout the town. I was thinking to push off the water main project because I was hoping the water treatment plant would get going, but I'm kind of leery about, is it going to happen in 6 months or is it going to happen in 12 months? So you're listed on the intended use plan for a water treatment plant and water mains, and they were going to be two separate projects. We have some plans ready, for that water main project, and I guess I'd like to think that we should go ahead and get those projects advertised and bid, so such that we could utilize the principal forgiveness that's listed on the intended use plan for the water main project. I'm not saying I have it ready to advertise, but I could see probably in the next 3 to 4 months we'd have, because we have to do the loan agreement, so we have to probably pass another ordinance, borrowing ordinance, as we did for the water treatment plant, not necessarily the water mains. And there's the loan agreement, and then getting Jack on layouts and kind of refining where the lead services are. Initially, wasn't planning to think about those, but then as I think that we may not be able to fit the intended use plan for the water treatment plant, so they raised the principal forgiveness for water from $400,000 if you remember, and then you could also get $500,000, and then you get all of it for lead. So the city of Assumption, once they got lucky, they got all of it paid for this last water project. Because you could have only, there was a chance you could only get $400,000, but so now they've raised that to $1 million, up to 50% of the project, which is going to work out really well for the water treatment plant. I don't know if I've gone over this yet. It was just
No,
announced.
this is new.
It was just announced like three weeks ago, so that makes sense that way I haven't discussed it. But so yes, the Illinois EPA principal forgiveness has gone up to $1 million, so it's really perfect for the water treatment plant, other than we can't move forward with the water treatment plant because we're waiting for the US EPA. So in theory, you're gonna get $2 million from this grant, from the Rodney Davis office, and then you could get $1 million in principal forgiveness from the EPA loan program as long as you borrow $1 million from the EPA loan program. So it's up to 50% or 50% up to $1 million. Like I've said, I think that the budget for the project has gone up a little bit just because of everything else going up. I'm not saying it's $1 million, but that's good for the water treatment plant. Other than we're waiting on it, I think we could move forward with a water main project. If as the sewer project gets going, they're going to start over on Leafland. That's where they're going to have to start and work their way. We have a kind of plan for water main replacement over in that area too. So we're already gonna have the road tore up. So let's tear the road up and fix it once rather than come back and fix it again. That's my thoughts on it. And then there's a couple other locations that we could look at doing. Is everybody all right with that?
I think we really need to explore more grant funding for those water mains. I think that was the original intent of getting those water mains together, so we can have something I mean, can't really call it shovel ready right now, but, you know, we're in the process.
That's what I'd like to do, is get it,
Permitted.
get it shovel ready, and I've already got an answer for a grant, so,
There you go. Mark's already got
at
one
the end of
for
the, end of the year, about August, you know, CDBG, that's what the funds are for this La Rochelle project, a little bit different because it's the, closeout funds for the, from years ago, so, but it's still managed the same way, but CDBG is going to come out, I think in about August, that's when they're supposed to announce, and they used to be only $550,000 that you could apply for water main projects, and I'd absolutely agree. Right now, everything that CDBG is usually water main. They don't like to pay for sewer or anything like that. They want potable drinking water. That's what CDBG likes. No lead. They don't want you to turn in lead. But they've raised it from $550,000 to $1.5 million. So that's also kind of why I gotten geared up. We get this, we start getting plans more formal ready. We turn in water main permits to get construction permits. We get a shovel ready. That grant comes out in August sometime. We turn in that application. You know, it'll be two months after August, I think, you know, whenever it's, I think it's actually due November, but a release is in August anyways.
So are you gonna combine all three of these projects into, you know, like a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3,
What, all three projects?
water plant, water main, lead services?
I would think that we would we'd have separate projects. So we have the water treatment plant, we'd have a water main project with the lead project.
With lead project,
But-
because the lead
yeah.
that's the 100% funding.
Yes, yeah. But
And
we
I
would,
can't imagine how that's gonna last all that much longer.
yeah, we would not have the water treatment plant included at the same time just because it's a totally different project, and we're also waiting. I don't want to wait for the US EPA for the water main projects. So yes, I'd like to get them ready so then we can apply for that grant, and then we could also be ready to advertise basically by, I'd say, winter, and that would put us in a good spot where then spring 2023 we're looking to start construction. Now, if you get that CDBG grant, then it'll not be spring 2023. There's, you know, paperwork that always.
Be like the summer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, La Rochelle took
Took a while.
2 years.
Yeah. Long time.
They were CDBG requires a little bit different environmental clearances. We can't do that until we actually have the award from them. But we can get the plans ready and get permits in place. We already have the contract to work on those water main plans. I've we started them. So I'm gonna start working on getting them further together, I guess, in the next 2 months or so, 3 months. All right, that's that. And then I also have, so over the last, I don't know, month, 2 months, we've been talking about, it's not really completely water, but it is associated to water, so that's why I'm bringing it up at the water committee. The subdivision, south of A&M School. So this is, working with, Assumption Community Pride, I think, is that right? And, you know, John Holdhouse and whatnot. So initially, I think it was kind of discussed that, you know, it would kind of take care of things, and I know there were some questions about legal and how to prevailing wage and whatnot, and so then it was kind of discussed to have us work to prepare, you know, a subdivision plat, do a preliminary survey, estimate, you know, actually what is the costs of the city going to be to do this work, and so that's kind of prepared a scope of what our services would be. To you know, kind of work through this, and the first thing is looking at a preliminary survey, like I said, engineering estimate of cost. Kind of two things that I think are really from the preliminary engineering survey is the drainage, you know, and trying to have that kind of figured out so we're not in a situation where we're trying to dump more water to down Little George, and then also looking at 2 different options for sanitary sewer service. So we've got an existing sanitary main that's over by, you know, Dollar General where the new water treatment plant's going to go. If everybody's not familiar with this, there is a map at the end, kind of shows where this is. I kind of talking like I think everybody knows what we're talking about, but so there is an existing sanitary, you know, main. I don't think it's deep enough to run it all the way back to the west. So potentially put a pump station at the west end of the subdivision and then pump it and discharge it back to the new sanitary main, or we run a sanitary main from the concession stand south here, so I don't have those shown on there. But that's just kind of the gist of the subdivision. You know, first we start on the survey, you know, get a good of this is what it's going to cost the city. for the project. And then once the city and the, say the developer agree that this is what we're moving forward with, then we'd work on final plan, final plat, final, engineering, and, then bid the project for construction. And I would say throughout the process, I mean, absolutely, so Jack has said that, at least in passing, I won't give him any more work, but he said he could put the water main in. That's perfectly fine, and then we wouldn't actually have to bid that out, so there'd be a little bit of, cost savings there, but, so this is, I kind of prepared the cost of our work to do it, and, it's not set in stone, I mean, absolutely, we're working through the process, so.
And this is just for you guys'
Yes, yeah, and this is, so the first step, like I said, the preliminary engineering is to develop the estimate of cost, so that's the first step. We would determine what is the cost of this construction project. I haven't done any of that yet, because I haven't been authorized by the board to do that. There's been a lot of discussion about how to make this subdivision, and, I think we have a very good plan. We just need to kick it off and get going on it, I guess. That's my thought. I don't know if you guys have anything to add, or,
I was just curious, where it says preliminary survey, engineering, and estimate of cost, does that estimate of cost mean the various, like putting in the road?
yeah,
getting
construction
the-
estimate, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, what it's gonna cost to, so some of the estimates you've already prepared, so I'm not gonna call Ameren, I'm just gonna call John and ask him, what he's gotten from Ameren. But like the sanitary, I can't tell you what it's gonna cost right now without doing the survey, so
Mhm.
that's why we're doing that. The road is gonna have a couple different options. We talked about oil and chip road, or an asphalt road with a concrete curb and gutter. I'm not gonna make the decision of, what's being put in. It's not my decision. It's the cities and who's putting it in. So that's what the construction estimate is developing some preliminary kind of plans with the, preliminary subdivision, plat, and then an estimate of cost of what it's gonna take to, incur all of that, I guess further refining your estimate that you've prepared.
yeah,
I think initially when we were talking about this, I don't know that I would have been involved as much, and I'm fine with however you want me to be involved. If I'm going to put together some of this work, yes, it's going to take some time and effort. I don't know the legal ramifications if prevailing wage. That's something that the attorneys would have to work out. I've done subdivision projects where the contractor developer has done the install and handed it off, but I'm not the city attorney, so we've not done an assumption. So this is what it would take for us to help with the project. Yes, it can be. We can work with the city and work with the developer. I'm calling John the developer, but just depends on however you want to word this. So I would say this is worst case. This cost here.
mhm.
But if you'd like us to help, I'd like to see this moving forward. I'd like to, maybe put any people on council and approve to get going on it if that's what we're doing. So
Well, there's still some more steps, because we talked about it at zoning,
mhm.
and, looks like we might not even be getting into that until maybe in August.
Okay.
So,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
we'll, go from there.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, what else, anybody else have anything else?
I have had a couple phone calls. One of them is at 126 Samuel Street, and she would like for her ditch to be dressed up like her neighbor's ditch. She's the only one there that has a ditch now.
Where's that?
126 Samuel,
Is that the,
I don't know.
Irma Jacobs? Well, we certainly, you can put a ditch, or you can put a buried culvert in there. The only reason we could get the EPA to pay for it and get Petersburg to do it is on DK's lot, is because that was what was there before. If we are gonna go and bury a culvert through there for her, it's not gonna be, it won't be eligible through that loan or anything. It'll all have to be something done in-house, paid for by local funds. which we can do. I mean, you certainly can. You can put. Nobody wants a ditch in their yard.
Mhm.
Every single person wants them buried. I get it. I certainly do.
But it wasn't there before. She
There
just wants
wasn't
it
one there
now.
before. And I get. I mean,
I
I
don't
do. I
wanna
get
go
it.
any more
Everyone
money.
wants them. If it was
She
my
just-
house, I'd want it buried too. You know, but yeah, that's for the.
What do you think it would cost?
I can tell you materials for DKs was roughly $4,000. That's just materials.
His was a lot deeper there.
Not necessarily. I think it was like 140 feet is what we put in. Hers is probably half of that. Would be my guess. Plus, flared end section. The only thing I don't like about those buried culverts is that you don't get any drainage off the road. It all just moves down the line. You know what I mean?
And then over the course of time, it's going to build up dirt right there on probably the edges. She's not going to be able to clean
It
it
takes
out.
you have to maintain
Yeah,
it.
she's going to have to do the maintenance. I'm not for it.
I don't care either way, honestly. I just don't. It's
I mean,
not going to be
if we want
added
to
to the
go down
sewer
that road.
project.
I mean, I'll be for it if the board is, but I just don't think it's necessary.
I told her I would bring it up.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. No,
Yeah.
that's what you do. You did good.
There is
I don't
one
want to
more
go
thing
4,000.
that needs to be finished over on Samuel Street, 312 Samuel, the red house. There's a hole literally in their yard, right in the front yard. It's around.
Is that
That's
Smedler?
Which one's that one?
It's the red house.
So they wouldn't.
Can't think of a red house.
It's over on the north side of the road.
A little bit down on a hill.
So they weren't affected by the sewer project. That could have possibly. So
There
this
was
is probably
something down
3
along
years.
there.
This is probably 3 years ago. They had a meter in the basement and started leaking at the yoke. We cut it all out and put a meter outside. That could be it.
Around that meter
Yeah.
is where it is
Oh,
sunk
okay.
in.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
sunk
first. That's the
badly.
first I've heard of it. We can definitely bring dirt over there.
Well, I know I've